Is everyone switching to TanStack Start now? I don't know if it's just me, but my YouTube homepage is just full of creators making the switch from NextJS to TanStack Start. So I did watch these videos and I did try to compile some kind of list of reasons why would anyone want to make this switch, because having a code migration this big is actually very hard, but there's one reason that all of these creators seem to have left out. So for context, there's this video from Theo where he talks about why they moved their app T3 chat from Next.js to TanStack Start. And although the video is a little bit long, it's almost 1 hour, I did watch it fully. And the motivation between having actually Next.js or TanStack Start was, first of all, just have a scalable design, something that you can expand easily, to have a synchronized client and server, not only code, but also deployment, that you can deploy them at once, which is something that you have in both TanStack and Next.js. And also, obviously, continue using React. So that was also one big point. But the thing that really pushed him or his team over the edge is that they were actually having a few hacks in the code to just get Next.js to be faster. So if you used Next.js app router, you probably know what I'm talking about. There is a thing with the navigation that is somehow a little bit slow. And I have experienced this a lot myself, but one solution for that is to just use client-side navigation for specific pages. So there's this hack that Theo and his team were using, which is to use React Router as a routing library for a specific set of subparts of the application. So that was very hacky. Now, they did try different approaches before landing on TanStack Start, including Remix and also a combination of Vite with Hono.js. So Vite just for having a client-side application and Hono.js for the backend part. But there they did stumble upon a lot of problems, especially regarding the deployment on Cloudflare. You had to also use some weird hacks to have some API routes just to go to the backends for all the requests that start with /API. Also, the bundle size somehow was also a big problem. Now, the real reason why they switched to TanStack Start was, first of all, the file-based routing that we have in TanStack Start, which is amazing, and also just the flexibility that it brings with it. They are still using gRPC and Convex, so a lot of technologies stayed the same. It's just the framework that changed. And if you're not using so much of the primitives of the library that you're using, for example, in Next.js, maybe having server-side functions and stuff like that, then making the switch is also pretty easy. But it's also important to note that Theo is not the one himself that made the decision to switch. It's actually the team behind it. And we're going to come back to that right away, because this is, in a way, connected to the main reason why people are making the switch to TanStack Start. Okay, now moving to the second developer who is also making the switch from TanStack Start to Next.js. There is Darius from Cosden Solutions. You probably know him if you watch my channel. He just has a lot of videos about React, but also about Next.js and a lot of libraries. Some videos I also watch myself to learn some technologies like React hook form. Awesome video, by the way. And he made this video, I migrated from Next.js to TanStack Start. And here he shares his experience. And what I love about this video is that he goes in full details about the whole experience. And he doesn't just talk about the good stuff in TanStack Start, but also the stuff that was still missing. One of the biggest points, which is something that I often hear from people, is that the documentation is not as good in TanStack Start as it is in Next.js. Now, one of the core reasons that pushed him to make the switch was the ease of working with React Query and TanStack Start, or TanStack Query with TanStack Start. Just combining them is extremely easy to do in TanStack Start because of this whole isomorphic way of running the code in TanStack Start, where you have your code sometimes running on the server and sometimes on the client. And as a developer, it's very easy to manage the two of them because it's basically managed by TanStack Start. I don't want to go too much into the details, but it's just very easy in TanStack Start to work as if you have a single page application or a client-side application. Whereas in Next.js, it feels sometimes as if you're hacking, especially if you have a lot of mutations, which is you're changing your data a lot. If you have dashboards or just a lot of user interactivity, this model of caching the whole route doesn't scale that well. And this is actually why I believe that 2026 is going to be the year of TanStack Start. This is the reason why people are switching. The main reason is that TanStack Start makes the gap between front end and full stack development extremely small. And it's easy to understand once you just recognize the nature of TanStack Start. TanStack Start is just TanStack router with a little bit of server stuff sprinkled on top. 80% of it is just the router. Imagine for a moment that we have some kind of funnel. On top, we have people who are just getting started with React. They're going to start by using Vite, obviously, a client-side application. It can't get any simpler than that. And after a while, you're going to need multiple pages, a second, third page. And for that, in React, you're going to need a navigation library. And this is where TanStack Router comes into play. At some point in your career, maybe it's the same project, maybe it's another project, you're going to need to have some kind of server functionality. Either it's going to be some server-side rendering. You want to have, for example, your landing page already be rendered on the server and you just send the HTML to the browser to just have a better loading speed and it's also SEO friendly. Or maybe you just have the need for some custom code that runs on the server just to keep it secure. And here you're gonna probably make the switch to TanStack Start. And the reason is that TanStack Start is, like I said before, just TanStack router with a little bit of server stuff on top. So going from a front-end developer to a full-stack developer, this difference, this step got extremely small, which is something that I'm very happy about. And whether they say it out loud or not, I think this is the main reason why so many people are making the switch. I'm sure that a lot of people who are using TanStack Start went through a very similar journey. By the way, if you want to learn TanStack Start, I am currently working on my first course ever, and it's going to be about TanStack Start. I already have the outline written down, and I'm working on the application. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to in other courses. I just want this course to be extremely specific on TanStack Start, and not just have a 20-hour-long Tailwind, Prisma, blah, blah, blah. Course. If that's something that's interesting to you, I have created a waiting list. You can join it, it's free, and I'm gonna notify you once it's out. And if you're on the list when it's out, I'm also gonna give you a 20% off coupon just for being in the list. And by the way, I have also been writing in the last weeks in the newsletter TanStack Weekly, which is a newsletter where I just write about everything that happened in the React world, but especially in the TanStack world. So if you don't want to miss that, it's a free newsletter. I'm also going to put the link to that in the description. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Ciao.